Stream is going. Is my mic on? Yes, it is. Okay. Let me make sure I have chat up real quick. Yeah, I don't know why I felt like doing this, but Lily Orchard showed up in my recommended, and I really wanted to talk about it for some reason. This is a video she made years ago. I'm pretty sure she stands by all her points in it. So there's that. Okay, now I can see chat. Now I can actually see chat. If you noticed the videos in the bottom right here, or bottom left. I'm just gonna be kind of messing around in Metal Gear while we do this. This isn't really a game stream. It's more of a me talking about something stream, but yeah. Before we start, Lily, this is her video on Steven Universe. Long video, 2 hours. Before we start though, Lily Orchard is like famously toxic. I want to put that out there. She's not a good person. And I'm pretty sure there's just like documents upon documents of just all the toxic shit her and her wife have done. I think they're married. Her and her girlfriend. Like, actually, hold up. All the shitty things the Orchard done. I remember seeing it. I've looked over it. Really bad person. Go find it yourself. I don't remember what to specifically search, but anyways, like, we're just gonna go over the video, listen to it. If I have anything objectionable to say, I'll say it and put my piece. And if she does say something surprisingly that I agree with, I'll make sure to mention that. But yeah, I could afford to make it a little bigger. There we go. That's good.
Oh, good lord, this was a mistake. Steven Universe was a revolutionary cartoon that shook the boundaries of children's entertainment and bringing it to new heights. Or rather, everybody thought that it was. In reality, Steven Universe turned out to be a mess of inconsistent storytelling, mashed up cliches that haven't been allowed to die, and a conga line of characters so consistently horrible that it's like being around all of your worst family members for the longest Thanksgiving ever.
Kind of the point of the shit. Whatever. Okay, I'm gonna wait. Hold on.
Steven Universe enjoyed
because I've seen this video before. I know what she's talking about. I'm just gonna wait.
With ample praise and lavishings from the general press when it first aired, but as time went on, its fanbase became significantly more critical and unhappy with the show's contents, to the point that being critical of the show was an entire subculture of its own, and that is not undeserved.
That's kind of pretty common when shows get like really big. Like, that's not super uncommon for there to be just a distinct like subculture within a large fandom about criticizing what people don't like about the show. Like, that's not that strange. I mean, I feel like this is an easy one because of how fucking big it is, but have you seen the Star Wars fandom? Holy shit. I know you have, Lily. My point being, of course there's people criticizing it. It's not a perfect show. But at the same time, people like the show all the way through. Like, most people liked it all the way through. The main thing that started getting criticized was how the... what was it? What were they called? Steven bombs were being handled in relation to episodes. Like, that was a big issue at the time. Also, a lot of fan theories were happening. People weren't having their fan theories confirmed. It's not that special. Like, she makes it sound like this is something really special that the show went through. This is just normal. This is how shows work. Oh, people got critical of Owl House in its second season. People were critical of Owl House in its first season, and people love Owl House. Like, Jesus, fuck. Yes, people critique shows. That's a thing that people do.
Everything about the show is unprofessional and lazy.
No.
It's writing to the animation to the very core idea.
Okay. Every time she fucking says the animation, I'm gonna try not fucking busting up my gut. But I know. She has like a holy shit. Sorry. She has a whole section on it later. I'll talk on it then, but it's very dumb. She's very dumb. You'll see.
The series pretends to have. It's long since burned off much of the goodwill it initially had, and these days people are just trying to figure out what went wrong. That's what I'm going to try to do.
No, you are. People really liked it up until maybe Change Your Mind. I think I said that already. And then people, to my knowledge, people like really like Steven Universe Future. Obviously, I think this video was made before Steven Universe Future. I don't know if it was made before Change Your Mind though. So I guess we'll find out depending on what she critiques. But yeah.
Here, going as in-depth as I possibly can. But Lord knows even I miss something because it just keeps getting worse and worse as time wears on. Dear fucking Lord, somebody please end my miserable existence. This is a thorough deconstruction of why Steven Universe is a garbage show that is bad.
What happened? Boss!
Are the crystal gems will always save the day. And if you think we can,
Just gonna let the whole ass thing play. Jesus.
I've gotten something of a reputation in the past for shitting on serialization, and I need to make it clear that I don't necessarily hate serialization itself. I hate the prevailing attitude that serialization is objectively superior to episodic storytelling in every possible scenario. Like any other narrative tool, serialization works very well when it's appropriate to the story.
You know what? Yeah, that's not wrong. If I have seen people genuinely say that, and yeah. I'm agreeing with her. That's what I mean by yeah. Like, I like serialization, but it's not inherently better than, like, slice of life, or episodic shit. If anything, I really like episodic stuff, and like, one of the things I actually kind of didn't like about Owl House was that, I get that near its end, it moved away from the slice of life stuff, but, like, it felt like that was just a whole thing that they kind of abandoned, which I wish they did more. Not so much for Steven Universe up until its, like, very final season. It's very, very both episodic and serialized. And that's fine. The only real issue I can think of with that is that, like, when airing, it didn't work well because of the fact that they didn't, like, air the show consistently. So the show would be away for, like, months, and then when it came back for, like, the 7 episodes that would drop, there would be no plot. Which I get makes complete sense if you're enjoying the show's plot. But, like, if you just watch the show now, fine. I'm getting ahead of myself. Jesus.
It's very easy to just say that shows with a continuous overarching plot are always better than a monster of the week, but that's just flat out not true, and it's most evident in shows that try to have it both ways. But regardless of what narrative tool you decide to use for your show, you do have to pick one, and this is what seems to trip up Rebecca Sugar at every possible angle. Steven Universe has this long, overarching plot about the Crystal Gem War and Homeworld discovering they're still actively fucking with their plans. Now, for a while, the Crystal Gems and Homeworld plot was really interesting. We'll get into why that fell down the plug hole in just a few minutes. But what was consistently aggravating is that Sugar clearly wanted to maintain a Monster of the Week vibe on top of that and focus on more character-specific elements like The Last Airbender did. Now, I can already hear your confused comments going, "Don't you love that shit, Lily?" Yes, I do. But there's a problem. You see, it wasn't character work for the characters you would think would get the time and focus. Steven? Connie? Pearl? Amethyst? Garnet? Peridot? Lapis? Nah, clearly nothing to do with any of them. Let's have 7 different episodes about...
Okay, I feel like that's very misleading. All the characters she just named off get plenty of development. Like, plenty of development in both plot and slice of life. In both plot and episodic episodes. Episodic episodes. What's a better term? Non-serialized? Non-plot episodes. Non-plot episodes. They get plenty of development in those. But there's also a ton of stuff of Steven interacting with the community, if that makes sense. Like, yes, there's plenty of stuff that that's around the main characters, but there's also stuff that's focused around, like, the town. And I really think that the town being fleshed out, it gives you, like, it makes you care more. You care more about the people that are, like, in danger at times. It also makes the final episode of the show, like Steven Universe Future, even more emotional, considering that, well, yes, he has to... Spoilers, by the way, for the whole show. At the end of Steven Universe Future, he has to leave. But he like, leaves and goes off to do his own thing. Steven, that is. And it's very emotional when he says goodbye to everybody, like, the crystal gems and whatnot. But then he also... The whole town is there to, like, see him away, because he's a big part of the community, and it's really sweet to see. And it helps add a bit more emotion, like, to it. It's how you... It's fleshing out the world, and they're not mandatory. Like, they're world building, basically, if that makes sense. And they're not bad. Like, they're not bad episodes.
Not why Lars is an unbelievable douche. Let's do 3 about Ronaldo being a conspiracy theorist. Let's do some about Mayor Dewey for some fucking reason. Ooh, I know. How about that one family that runs a pizza shop? I bet their lives are totally fucking interesting. What's...
Okay, wait. No! Yeah, wait, what the fuck? Isn't... Wait, the episode... Hold up. Did she just... Okay. Steven Universe Pizza Dream... Whatever, Pizza Dream. What's the episode? The pizza delivery service. Oh, fuck. The video game is happening. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Never mind. I thought she, like, I thought that episode had a lot more Steven-ish shit in it, but no, I was wrong. To be fair, I haven't watched the show since last year, so my bad.
Fascism with a smattering of natural rule? Boring. Let's talk about the wrestling scene. That's where the real action's at. You see, the side stories in The Last Airbender were so good because they offered insight into a primary character. Assault Raiders was about Katara getting revenge on the man that killed her mother. Zuko alone was about witnessing firsthand the damage that his father's war monster has been causing in the Earth Kingdom. You know what The Last Airbender didn't have? An entire character arc for the Cabbage Guy. But that's what Steven Universe is doing. The residents of Beach City aren't active players in the thin veneer of a story that Steven Universe pretends to have. They're background characters. They're weirdly misshapen, constantly shrinking Lyras. They don't get proper character arcs because they show up, deal with the crisis of the day, and then go sit in the green room until Sugar wants to stall for time again. Literally the only one who does change is Lars, and that's because Sugar literally fucking killed him and replaced him with another character entirely. The rest of them are just there to destroy.
No, Lars's character development was very noticeable throughout the show. Like, he starts out a huge douche, and he stays a douche for a long time. But, like, over time, as you see him develop, or no, as you see him more, you can tell he slowly starts to gain more respect for Steven and be on better terms. And then him being on the alien planet, like, really hits him hard, and he, like, changes for, like, a lot. Like, that would change somebody a lot, especially if they died and came back to life. So, like, no, Lars changed. Lars was fine.
Detract from the fact that the story is dragging on and on and on. Normally, filler is fine to flesh out the world and the other characters, but the world being fleshed out is Earth, which doesn't need fleshing out. The characters being explored are
It's not fleshing... Okay, to be fair, the Earth in the show is nothing like our Earth. It's fleshing out the community. World building can mean more than just building the lore around a world. Like it's building the environment. Environmental building? I don't know what you would call that. but it's building up the community so you feel better connected to them and feel more invested in Steven and the Crystal Gems, like, fight against the fucking Homeworld Gems.
Random bit parts who ultimately mean nothing and they're not funny. Filler episodes of shows are usually...
That's just subjective. Like, I can't say, oh no, it was funny. Like, yeah, I can't. Sometimes Steven Universe can be a little cringy, but, like, it's never painful to watch. And it's never unfunny. No, it's... How do I say this? It's charming in how it's trying.
Usually the fun, light-hearted episodes the writers use to ease off the tension of the main story, if they have one. Steven Universe doesn't have that need for easing tension, as the filler episodes outnumber the story episodes considerably. It almost feels like Sugar wanted to have a story about an intergalactic space war, but also wanted to just write fanfics about random people in Beach City and couldn't seem to pick one. And for a while that worked for her. The fandom at the very least seemed to love all of this, and Steven Universe circa Season 1 had an extremely critically undiscerning fanbase. But everything changed when the hiatus is attacked.
Yeah, no, this is what I was talking about. She talks about how the hiatuses are partly on the fault of Rebecca Sugar, even though in previous videos she made, she very strictly said that it's Cartoon Network's fault. But she's gonna say that because of the hiatuses, the writing of the show should have been changed, which, no, they shouldn't. Rebecca Sugar had no control over the hiatuses and had no idea when they were gonna happen. But, like, no, I'm gonna go 1.5. Or 1.25.
Steven Universe schedule went off the rails almost immediately, airing regularly for a while, but then condensing itself into short bursts of episodes called Steven Bombs. The first hiatus lasted for 41 days and started with the episode Bubble Buddies, the second episode of the series. The show had just started and it was already taking a break. The second lasted 3 weeks with Arcade Mania just 5 episodes later.
Like, she just names up, no, she just names off all the hiatuses for like a solid minute, I think.
The third lasted another 3 weeks, another 5 episodes later. Then they got progressively worse. The fourth hiatus lasted just over 3 months and came back to Coach Steven just 5 episodes after the last hiatus came back, and then stuck around consistently for a few months before going on hiatus for another month. We're not even through Season 1 yet, and already Steven Universe has been on hiatus for over 220 days. The sixth hiatus finally...
Oh. Sorry about that, I had an alarm set.
broke into Season 2
I don't know why.
45 days and returned to Sworn to the Soul. Then, only a week later, went on hiatus for another 3 weeks to come back to Cry for Help in Space Motel. Then a week later, Season 2 went on hiatus for another 54 days and returned to Nightmare Hospital. Then the show managed to remain consistent for a little while before going on hiatus again for 80 days and coming back to Season 2. Once again, the show lasted for only another week before having the second longest hiatus of 5 months between then and Super Watermelon Night. Another 5 episodes. Then it went on hiatus again for 44 more days, returning to the Summer of Steven, which seems managed to stay on air for the rest of the summer. Then the 12th hiatus came, lasting another 2 months and returned on Gem Harvest. The 13th hiatus lasted another 2 months, returning on Steven's Dream. Then another one that was just under 3 weeks, so I don't count. Then the longest hiatus of 6 fucking months. And this was arguably the most egregious offender because the series left off on Lars dying and being revived and then left on Homeworld. And then we came back to a municipal election, Steven being pissy that Tommy won't talk to him, Lapis panicking that Homeworld is coming to Earth and reminding everyone that there are fascists and space when we kill them all, and Steven would start. Bam. Then the show went on hiatus for another 3 months. Steven Universe spent so much time on hiatus that the waiting just continued to wear people down.
Okay, the fucking, what was it, the election stuff does talk about Lars being gone. Like, they do reference that he's gone, and they acknowledge that he's out in space and they don't know what's happening. Like, again, it's not the show's fault that the hiatuses exist.
I talked about this on the Clock Draw podcast and Glass of Water. As the waiting dragged on and on and on, people started getting angry. Hiatus happen in TV shows all the time, but Steven...
Yeah, at Cartoon Network, not the show.
Has hiatuses in excess, and that kind of drawn-out waiting is unheard of. But here's where the biggest problem lies. If you binge watch the series now, everything seems fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so why are you complaining about it?
Filler episode's biggest problem in retrospect is just that they're boring, and most people would rather be told the cool story about space battles, not the boring story about some loudmouth rat who doesn't have any earlobes.
No, plenty of people, a ton of people love the filler shit. You're talking out of your ass.
Well, when you put it into the context of people waiting 6 months after leaving that kid on a hostile alien planet, only to come back and not even bother giving it a passing glance for multiple weeks, people are going...
Like I said, that's not true.
...to get angry, because you're just jerking.
It's actually, no, it's actually a plot detail in the fucking, mayor episode. The election episode she named off. Like, that's a plot. That's a plot detail. Like, that's part of the election process, them talking about that.
Them around and wasting their goddamn time. The fact is, Steven Universe had ample time to appropriately put filler and just decided to fill it with nothing. Filler episodes exist so that you don't have to go on hiatus. Your story lasts 12 episodes, but they order 24, so you spread those story episodes out between fun filler episodes to pass the time and create organic gaps between story events.
Hold on, what?
To fill it with nothing. Filler episodes exist so that you don't have to go on hiatus. Your story lasts 12 episodes with a order 24, so you spread those story episodes out between fun filler episodes to pass the time and create organic gaps between story events.
Or you just wanted to flesh out the people that exist. Like, that's very, very speculative. Weird.
Steven Universe just has pauses and gaps in between that otherwise organic scheduling and throws everything off. When people hear that Steven Universe is coming back after 6 months, the last thing they're going to want to see is some episode about Mayor Dewey. We don't need...
Literally, this shot that he... Literally, the shot that she's playing, right now, is the shot where they acknowledge... they're talking about Lars. Like, Jesus, Lily.
After 6 months, the last thing they're
I
going to
didn't, by the way, I wasn't misgendering her. That sounded weird. I was making a mental note in my, not mental note, I was kind of thinking out loud. I was referencing Mayor Dewey, and it came out sounding bad. Lily Orchard is a woman. That's, fuck.
want to see is some episode about Mayor Dewey. We don't need a break from the story, we just fucking had one. This contributes to what many people see as a problem. The story is stalling because it has these long stretches of nothing, back to filler that should have been put in those gaps. If you believe that it's all Cartoon Network's doing for the constant hiatuses, which I don't.
Which it is. She literally made a video about why companies do this. Like, I'm not even joking. She made a video about why companies do this and why it's bad. And why... and how it's the companies that are doing it. Like, she acknowledged that, like, oh yeah, they did this, it's their fault.
Trigger should have caught on to this a while ago.
She even references Steven Universe in that video.
And written her episodes accordingly. If you're constantly going on a hiatus, you don't need to make this kind of crap. You should have continued making it anyway. I don't even know why. Who goes through all that effort to make magical lesbian space frogs and then devote so much fucking time to just average, ordinary, everyday humans? Are you telling me that all of the literally colorful characters in this show, your favorite is Lars? The guy doesn't have earlobes, Rebecca. The issue with filler is even worse when there's an active story going on. In the cluster arc, a massive artificial fusion comprised of millions of genocides. By the way, remember this is going to be important later. Was discovered to be baking beneath the Earth's crust and will soon form and destroy the entire planet. I repeat, it will soon destroy the entire fucking planet. Now, in any other show, this kind of story would have a sense of urgency. Not in Steven Universe, however. The episodes Back to the Barn, Too Far, The Answer, Steven's Birthday, Message Received, and Log Date 7152 barely have anything to do with the actual story. They spend most of the time chilling and not really doing it.
Yeah, because, no, they're all episodes, mostly, focusing on Peridot. Like, the quote-unquote main character of the arc. She's, like, the main focus beyond Steven. Most of it is developing her character, which is a big part of the arc. Like...
it's only Back to the Barn that in any way advances the story itself, and there's no reason why the other three couldn't have waited until...
That's not true. That is not true. That is not true at all. There's 2 episodes. I don't remember the name. Where they go up into space and they learn more about what the homeworld gems do. Peridot snabs like a device, and then in the second episode you find out that it's a communication device. But then Peridot like realizes realizes that destroying Earth would be bad when she contacts Homeworld, and she's like, "Nah, fuck off. I'm a good guy now." Yeah.
Stopped. If you take the episodes that make up the cluster arc and rearrange them...
Yeah.
so the waffling happens after the cluster has been bubbled, this problem goes away. For something that threatens the Earth, the thing the crystal gems care about more than anything else, there's a distinct lack of actual tension in the story. Nobody's stressed out, nobody's worried. Wait, no, scratch that. Peridot's worried, but don't worry, we'll lobotomize her soon enough. For an arc supposedly about the cluster, I actually forgot it was even a thing on first viewing because several episodes of a 4-month hiatus went by without it getting a passing mention.
And that's why hiatuses are bad, and they're not the show's fault. Stop bringing up the hiatuses. It's not the show's fault. I'm kind of torn on this one. While I do agree that there should have been a bit more tension within the arc, I do feel like Peridot's character development is a big part of the arc, and I don't think it should have happened after the what's it called? Her development needed to happen before the cluster, because if it happened after the cluster, she wouldn't be there. If that makes sense. Like, she would help them with the cluster, and then she'd probably say, no, go away. The only reason she develops is because she's stuck with them while they prepare for the cluster.
Is defeated, the cluster starts to wake up, and everyone's like, nearly every arc has this issue. The Jasper arc from Gen Hunt to Earthlings has Bismuth smacked in the middle of it. The home...
No. Okay. Bismuth. Okay. Bismuth being right before the end of the Jasper arc is because it's, one, it's a bit of a breather, like you said, while still being plot focused, and two, the whole point is that it starts the seed that Rose kind of has a bad past. It's where what in it I think yeah, Bismuth refers to how, like, oh, Rose like bubbled me, and you're supposed to kind of start like questioning Rose a little. And then the very next episode, when Jasper's back, Jasper reveals that Rose, or no, Pink Diamond was killed. Yeah, that's what it was, I think. Yes, that Pink Diamond was killed, and then right after that, it's revealed that Rose did it.
World arc has Dewey wins Gemcation and Kevin Party wedged inside it, and the
Okay, wait, what was that?
has Bismuth smacked in the middle of it. The Homeworld arc has Dewey wins Gemcation and Kevin Party. Wedged inside it.
I don't really have much to say on that one. That's just like, okay.
And the Pink Diamond arc that immediately follows has 5 episodes jammed between it before anything remotely resembling a conclusion starts to...
This is all this is all plot. No, this is plot. Don't. No. These are all episodes that are focusing on the reveal, like the major reveal that has to do with the main story and how the characters react to it. Like if you have a major reveal, you should have a moment when the characters react to it. And that's what this in-between area is. That's what it is. Like, that's just total horseshit. One sec, I'm being called. Okay, we're back. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. Total just made up lie. These are all plot. And honestly, very important episodes for the characters. The main characters.
To inch its way forward. The biggest contributor to this constant starting and stopping is the fact that Steven Universe plays out like any other cartoon. But unlike any other cartoon, it's lashed to Steven himself at all times. So while in theory, the plot tends to play out at a relatively realistic pace, all the important and interesting things are happening completely off screen.
Like what?
This is why there are so many episodes about Steven bumming around Beach City. Why there are so many instances
Like
of
what?
random characters doing fuck all with Steven. Why there are
Like
so
what?
many episodes where Steven is hanging out with some other gem and leaves the plot to come bursting through the wall.
What? What? Okay, what do you mean what other interesting things are happening off screen? Tell me. What is it? What's happening? What's happening off screen?
Or characters' personal issues just jump right out of the blue. This is most egregious in the last one out of Beach City, where the episode is entirely about Pearl seducing some human lady who looks like Rose, and also Steven is there. He's been shoved into the episode just because the show has mandated that he always be here, despite the fact that the episode would work just as well, if not better, if he wasn't hogging screen time. I need to stress that this is unusual for any TV show. TV shows are typically written in a full third-person perspective so that the focus can shift for a bit when necessary. Avatar has a ton of moments where the perspective shifts to Zuko and Iroh as early as the first episode, and even episodes where Aang isn't present at all. Fan-favorite episodes like Zuko Alone, Tales of Bossing Say, The Boiling Rock, The Southern Raiders, and 3/4 of Sozin's Comet wouldn't have happened if the series lashed itself to Aang the way Steven Universe lashed itself to Steven. We'd probably have more insight into the Diamond as a whole if the show could just bother to tear itself away from Steven for even a second. Even episodes that technically don't feature Steven are either a story being told to him or feature a fusion that Steven inhabits. With this arbitrary restriction in place, a lot of interesting things happen completely off screen, which in terms of story...
Like what? Name a single interesting thing that happened off screen. You just said all the interesting stuff happens when Steven is there. So what interesting stuff happened off screen?
Telling means it doesn't actually happen. Legend of Korra had this problem to an extent in its final season, where 95% of Kuvira's asshole dictator behavior happens off screen and is only ever briefly alluded to. And a lot of
Okay, that's Korra. Give an example for Steven Universe.
Stop that laziness with, oh, well, it happens off screen. That's not good enough. You have to show it to us. Steven Universe has so many characters that just sit there and do fucking nothing because Steven isn't around to see them. Lapis and Peridot are the two biggest examples, as they're locked in the barn at all times until Steven decides to visit them, at which point something actually happens. Lapis is actually one of many characters who has a lot of shit to work through, but can't actually do that in the vast majority of cases because Steven isn't there, so she's not allowed to do anything. As a result of this, Lapis comes off to many people as one of Sugar's dozens of attempts at who-divine absolutely terrible and reprehensible people, and we'll fucking get to that. But
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Lapis didn't have to be this way. If you replaced every single episode of Steven screwing around at Beach City with some rando with episodes about the other gems, Lapis could have actually been a character. Peridot could contribute in some way. Amethyst might have been able to work through her insecurities more organically. Pearl might not have been such a crazy asshole. Garnet might not have been relegated to exposition about fusion and nothing else. An entire arc about Lapis becoming a better person and making a turnaround from the abusive fuckstick she used to be. That sounds a hell of a lot better than the 6 episodes trying to salvage Lars before Sugar just gave up, killed him off, and replaced him with Zaphod Beetlebrox. Sugar likes to put terrible people in leather pants so much. Why not have someone actually grow and become better and earn that supposed redemption?
I mean, like Lars, Lapis, Peridot. Peridot especially, like, fuck. Ignore Peridot. That didn't happen. Didn't happen. Fucking, like, Lapis does grow and change. It, like, literally. Okay. When the show is about Steven, a person should. I don't. A show can be attached to the main character. The main character. And what is okay, wait. The characters do grow organically. Like, they do. It doesn't feel inorganic when you watch it. Like, how would she have preferred this? We just follow follow Lapis for a whole episode? Part of the whole point of the show is that, like, everybody is dysfunctional as fuck, and Steven... Literally, the whole point of Steven Universe Future is that Steven had to help everybody with their fucking problems because they couldn't do it themselves, and that he fucked him mentally. Like, that's the point of the show! That's literally the point of the show! That's how the show ends! Like, this is why criticizing a show like this before it ends isn't a good idea. At least making huge sweeping statements like this.
Rather than just stagnating for years until you just steal all your girlfriend's shit and leave. Once again, another story about a people.
No, she got better, but she's fucking terrified still. You expect her to just be completely better? Should she have stolen all the stuff? Should she have taken the barn? No, but she was terrified of her ass. You get why she did it, even if it's not a good thing. The whole point is that she isn't perfect. Right there, it just sounded like Lily's just like, well, she's not perfect. Like, what the fuck? Where in Family Guy? What the fuck? You can't just say that. Holy shit. You can't just say Family Guy does better character development than this. And what character development's Family Guy? If anything, it's character regression in Family Guy. Steven Universe has character development. Don't fucking compare those two things. Jesus fuck. Oh, she like loves Family Guy for some reason. Like, here's the thing. I like Family Guy as a guilty pleasure, but it's trash. Family Guy is trash nowadays. But she like tries to prop it up and hold it up as like really good and decent. It's weird. Oh shit.
Because of this forced perspective, remains steadfast in its refusal to actually explore any of the ideas it presents. Instead, it offers hints. It gives hints that Lapis might have PTSD. It gives hints that
no, it's explicit. What the fuck? Wait. Whoa.
It gives hints that Lapis might have PTSD. It gives hints that Peridot might have self-loathing.
No, it's fucking. It's not. It's explicit. There's episodes on that. What are you talking about? Like, there's a whole episode when Peridot gets her powers about how she doesn't feel like she's worth much because she can't do all the gem stuff. Or, like, she doesn't have powers. That's why. Like, she can't shapeshift. I think that was the main one. Yeah, she can't shapeshift. She doesn't have any unique powers. And it's very clear it's self-worth issues. What do you mean? Hints. No, it doesn't! Explicit character development! Especially with Peridot! She was the most developed in the show!
This isn't good writing.
Not most developed, but best developed.
It's lazy writing. The sad thing is it's lazy writing that works. When I did my video about Attempt to Shadow, one of the most common attempts...
Okay. Lazy writing that works? What do you mean it works? What do you mean it works? Tell me, what do you mean it works? Because if something works and is good, but lazy, that doesn't mean it's bad. If it's good, it's still good.
Hints of character development, and I did speculate on their potential, but I also rightfully concluded that because the movie didn't bother to do anything with that potential, then that potential was irrelevant. This is something most fandoms can't grasp, and why hinting at character development is the easy way out for a lot of shows. Stevie,
hint at what? Nate, how do they hint? Explicitly, multiple times. There's episodes where Lapis has to grow. There's episodes where Peridot has to grow. There's episodes where they explicitly call out the issues that these characters have in their lives with their, like, fucking mental states. Amethyst has to grow. Pearl has to grow. Everybody has to grow. Lily Orchard, what are you talking about?
The universe hints at something interesting about a character and just fucking leaves it there. The fandom picks it up and speculates and talks elaborate theories that delve into layers of intrigue, and then concludes that because of all the speculation, that Steven Universe is an amazing show. Do you see what's just happened though? Rebecca Sugar is getting all the credit and praise, but the fans are the ones doing all the real work. They're writing elaborate story ideas that the show will never even try to use, but she's getting all the credit for it. Steven Universe is providing little more than a collection of writing points and being heralded as an amazing and deep show, just because a bunch of far more creative people can write 50 papers.
When? What? No, okay. I will admit that with theory, like theory fandoms that have a lot of theory, they can often give a show too much credit due to the fact that there's a ton of theory fodder. But, like, when were people theorizing about, like, character development? People theorize about lore. Or they theorize where a show's gonna go. What do you mean? What?
Just based off those prompts. The big twist of the show is that Rose is Pink Diamond, but that twist was guessed by the fandom the moment Pink Diamond's name was first mentioned. And I said at the time that the Rose is Pink Diamond theory was without a doubt the worst possible way to end that entire arc, which meant Sugar was definitely going to do it. Worse off.
Okay, just because a twist is predictable doesn't mean it's not good. A twist is good. How do I say this? A twist is good. It doesn't have to be unpredictable. Obviously, it makes it better if it's unpredictable. But a twist also has to be able to be figured out. And it also has to be surprising to the characters. Like, it has to affect the characters in some way. The fact that there's a twist, the twist existing in itself should affect the characters.
Not only does Steven Universe rely on the fans to imagine a better show in its place, it actively mocks them for doing so. In the episode Lying for Alternate Endings, Steven spends an episode deconstructing Rose's tape and trying to find the answer to his purpose in life. This has been a common trend for fandom theory since the start of the show. Mainly, why did Rose give herself up to bring Steven into the world? Steven investigates as much as he can and finds a tape for Nora and spends the rest of the episode trying to discover who Nora is. Nora is just what Steven's name would have been if he was a girl. And the only reason he exists at all is just because Rose wanted a baby. Now you might be asking yourself, why did this need to be an entire episode that teased the viewer with something interesting, only to yank it out from under them at the last minute? Because fuck you, that's why. This episode's only defense for existing is we need to remind people that they're special just the way they are. But anybody who actually needs to be reminded of that is going to be more solid ground than Steven Universe to tell them. This is...
No. Shows, especially kid shows, for kids, can really help people. Like, really, like, stories about how you're good the way you are, assuming the way you are isn't, like, a piece of shit, is, like, really helpful for kids. Unironically, I know it helps, stuff like that helped me when I was younger. I know it's helped, like, friends of mine who watch shows as well. Like, again, you have to think about that this is the target demographic is kids, and it's made for kids. So think about that through the lens of a kid for a moment, Lily. I know that's hard for you because you only consume kids media and you form your entire fucking worldview around it, but yeah. Made for kids, and you have to think about that sometimes. That's why there's stuff like that.
This is the closest thing to a solid theme that Steven Universe even has. With the exception of characters that already have their shit together, almost every character arc is about learning to love yourself. But not loving yourself in a practical way, where you have aspirations and goals and work toward them while taking part in self-improvement and making sure you're a healthy, functional person. You know, what loving yourself actually means. Meaning the internet version of loving yourself, where you're complacent, never putting any effort to solve your problems, mope until somebody coddles you, pretends you don't have problems in the first place, and give up the moment you're confronted with failure because acknowledging that your things to work on isn't comfortable. You're already as good as you're ever going to be, says the dynamite.
No. Okay, you could say that self-love is a theme of the show, but if anything, the theme is that not having self-love can lead to being destructive, and having self-love can help you. If your problem is self-love, then gaining self-love fixes the problem. And self-love usually is the problem. So when they learn to accept and love themselves, they've fixed the problem.
Interestingly enough, the best characters in the show are the ones that don't do this. Connie aspires to be more than she currently is, works hard, and by the end of her effective character arc, she's able to fend off a fusion alone while Steven has another sulking fit. She's the most emotionally stable among the cast, which I know isn't a high bar to clear in the first place, but bear with me here, and frequently pulls everyone else out of danger. Bismuth was another character who aspired to be more than she was, so much so she longed to take that aspiration to homeworld and liberate everyone. And for her initiative, she was labeled just as bad as the Diamonds by the show, a genocidal killer by the fandom, and then bubbled in what is still the most horrific act of intellectual carelessness by Sugar. This happened...
Okay. Now, here's an issue I actually have with the show. Bismuth is right to want to shatter the diamonds and kill them. And Steven is wrong to be like, to do that would make us just as bad as them. But the show then does a thing where bubbling her for her she's not bubbled for her ideology. She's bubbled again because she tried to fucking kill Steven. Like, I don't like, they kind of sidestep that whole moral issue. And they unbubble her when they think there's a way to, like, talk with her where she won't just try to kill Steven again. It's definitely not the best bit of writing the show has. It kind of just sidesteps a whole moral issue by... It's like the whole thing of, oh, but they took it too far. And I don't like it. But you're wrong about why she's bubbled. Like, it's hard. That's a definite, like, actual point she just raised. But she still phrased it weird, because she wasn't bubbled for her ideology. She was bubbled for trying to fucking murder a child. That's not true at all. That's not true at all.
jokes and set pieces above everything else and trying to make the story bend around that.
I'm trying to think about how that has anything to do with what she talked about, like, at all. Like character development, jokes and set pieces. The one thing that I'm, like, actually getting a little upset at right now, she has no examples. Like, she's never just, like, for example, they rushed through this to get to this set piece. Like, I don't... What? I thought there wasn't enough plot. So how are there big set pieces? I don't even know.
The entire arc about Lars going into space exists entirely because Sugar had the vision of Lars being a space captain and is determined to crowbar that shit in somewhere. All of this combined means the show is going fucking nowhere. Anytime something looks like it might happen, Sugar bullshits her way out of it. We're now on 5 seasons, but with only 2 seasons worth of actual content. There are so many people who've completely given up on Steven Universe, but are only persisting in watching it out of an closure for all this time they've invested, and need to see how it ends if it even does end. You can't build a show on pathological addiction, Sugar. You can't keep teasing people with clickbait titles only to turn out that the episode it's attached to is just more people jerking around and not doing anything. It's so fucking boring. So here's where we hit a snag. You see, unlike many other shows, Steven
I'm not gonna get through this whole video tonight.
Universe has always had a scattered approach to character design. Most of the time, character development doesn't happen. Then it comes in trickles, and then an epiphany just rushes in at the last possible second to drag out a story arc. This means there isn't really much to say about each character on their own, especially Steven, which is why all of them are being piled into one section rather than Steven getting one all to himself like Fortnite.
See, this is why you don't make a big comprehensive video like this before the end of a show. Because Steven Universe Future is... I say end of show, Steven Universe Future is still the same show. It is so heavily connected to what happened throughout Steven Universe. It's just a season, it's just an epilogue season. But that epilogue season is the culmination. The whole point of the season is that Steven was never allowed to grow. That's the whole fucking point. This is why you don't make sweeping statements like this about a show before it ends.
The sole exception to this, however, is Rose Quartz, who is the culmination of all of Sugar's failings as a writer and is such a critical character despite never appearing in the present time. And as such, she gets her own section detailing the problematic clusterfuck that is her story.
No!
Marketplace.
I don't agree. Nobody deserves this.
Steven has never been able to catch a break in this series. He goes from being this really annoying kid who doesn't seem to be aware of what's going on around him to just a hanger-on who doesn't do much except watch other people solve problems. And then he learns the magical trick of talking the monster down, which he uses over and over and over again, and then becomes a waffling, wilting coward by the end of the series. Steven has something of a Twilight Sparkle problem in that he changes constantly based on whatever Sugar needs him to do. For example, Steven is no stranger to violence, and throughout the majority of the series approaches fighting with either neutral detachment or perverse glee. Despite being something of a pacifist, Steven isn't particularly troubled by fighting itself. But because Bismuth wants to lean really hard on an anti-violence message, there are a lot of instances even before the breaking point is revealed that Steven is visibly nervous and uncomfortable around rather standard training exercises.
Well, no, it's because he wouldn't be able to participate in said training. I don't really think he's... How do I say this? He's not uncomfortable by it. He's just scared by it because he's just like, damn, she can kick the shit out of that rock.
I'd say that Steven was at his best during Season 2, as this was after he stopped being just some idiot kid the gems were babysitting, and before he became such a sanctimonious coward.
If we do everything...
That I heard my phone. My bad.
Easy on us. But they're mean. They hurt my friends. They hurt my face. They've got you here
That's not Season 2.
in prison. That's why we can't fight them. That's why we have to fight them. There's no reason to fight. Let me talk to you.
Woo, boy.
The fighting has to stop. We aren't enemies. We're family.
Woo, boy. That's misleading. The whole point is that they have to fight, but now, in Season 5, they find out that there might be a way to peacefully resolve the war. Like, by Season 5, he found out that his mom, who is him to some degree, was actually part of the fascist dictatorship. So he's like, okay, I can take advantage of that to stop this war. Because it's made very clear that the Crystal Gems would not win if they actually tried to fight their way through Homeworld. They would not win. They are severely outnumbered, and they would get their shit wrecked. So, the fact that he was able to find a loophole is part of how they end the war? Fuck, that's misleading.
I particularly like when he has to comfort Peridot, who mistakes the thunder for the cluster. He still has issues that plague the entire series, like the fact that he's way too playful when he's supposed to be taking something seriously, and way too serious when something's stupid. Steven doesn't really...
When? Tell me when. Please, tell me when. I've been asking for a while, but do you like an example for me? Because I can't just...
to be a character...
No, he's not. Like...
because he has to spend all of
that's the best response I can give, without an example. No, he's not. And then I move on, because I have nothing to actually say beyond just saying that statement is false.
time being the vessel for Sugar's crying for proof. He's like Star like that. Too much time is spent trying to prove.
Also, he's a kid. Like, that's part of the show. That's part of the fucking show. He's a kid. Check Discord. What does Discord want? Oh, hell yeah. Aw, Doc, that's sick. Dude, Scourge is a good figure. You're gonna love it. Also, wait, today's your birthday? Wait, today's your birthday and you didn't tell me? Did you not tell me it's your birthday? Come on, man. Not today, the 6th. Well, happy 2-day early birthday. I had no idea. No, yeah, dude, that's awesome. I've shown you. I have Scourge. Great figure. Don't lose the Matrix like I did. I lost the Matrix that was in his chest. It's somewhere. Actually, it's somewhere around my desk on the floor, but I can't find it for the life of me. Okay. Yeah, congrats, man. Scourge is awesome.
To a point, and as a result, he's got nothing beyond that. This isn't helped by the fact that the show treats him like some kind of messiah figure half the time, and results in him solving long-standing problems that the Gems somehow couldn't solve until this special boy came into their lives. Oh, really?
Like what?
A bland, generous white boy has his importance to the plot artificially inflated among the numerous women and non-white characters? Gosh, what a mystery! Okay, I walked into that.
What?
Do it for him, and you would do it again. You do it for her, that is to say, you will do it for him.
Oh, dear Lord.
What already? Already what? Oh, yeah, I already lost it. Yeah, Yeah, I think I was in a call with you when I lost it, actually. I was showing it off, and then it fell.
Lord, where do I begin with Pearl? Pearl wasn't so much a good character that fell by the wayside as the series went on, so much as she was stitched together from various dark romance tropes from the word go. For the first 2 seasons,
Yeah, you were in the call with me when I dropped it and lost it.
all we knew about Pearl was that she was in love with Rose, obsessively, and that she was racked with a combination of grief and trauma, but grief and trauma as understood by Rebecca Sugar. Pearl was an erratic, dangerous character who rarely ever faced the consequences for her actions. Like that time she almost killed Steven in space, or that time she almost let Steven fall to his death because she was freaking out over a sword, or that time she almost ripped out Steven's gem. Pearl really wants to kill Steven. Pearl...
Okay, to be fair, when she wanted to rip out his gem, it was because he was a baby and they didn't understand what a fucking baby was.
greatly suffers from the fact that Rebecca Sugar keeps adding extremely dark content to her story for tertiary reasons and doesn't do anything with it. Much of what made Pearl interesting in that she was dealing with loss over a loved one and that love being unrequited, which is something never done with a gay character, was destroyed once it was revealed that Pearl was literally Rose's slave. Sugar actually went on to an interview to describe the dynamic between them as if Alfred was in love with Batman.
Yeah, Rebecca Sugar can be stupid. But, again, in Steven Universe Future, which is just the 6th season of Steven Universe. Don't give me, oh, it's another show bullshit. No, it's just the 6th season. They very, very clearly make it evident that it was an abusive relationship and that Pearl's needs to get over it. And they make that evident, like, I think in Season 5? Whenever Pink Diamond is revealed to be Rose, they also make it evident that it was an abusive, like, it wasn't a fair relationship and that Pearl wasn't really in the best position. And it was really fucked up.
Not Bruce, just Batman. Sugar doesn't seem to grasp that there's a reason Alfred isn't in love with Batman, because he's a surrogate father to him, and that would be really fucked up. Also, Batman doesn't own Alfred, and Alfred is paid, you stupid fucking...
You have arrived at your destination.
Amethyst is the character who suffers the most from Steven Universe's lopsided approach to storytelling. Her character arc about dealing with her inadequacies is never really resolved. It just kind of vanishes after meeting.
Yes, it is.
Kindergarten. But I'm getting ahead of myself. For the majority of the first season, Amethyst was the cool big sis of the group. She mostly existed to take the piss out of Garnet and Pearl. This went as far as for the other gems to treat her like an animal at times. Like when Pearl asked if they were really going to let Steven keep a lion, and Garnet replied, "We kept Amethyst." This continued for a while, and Amethyst was like,
Yeah, that's a joke. It's called a joke. Lily. I know your triggered SJW brain doesn't understand what a joke is, but, you know, it's a joke. Unironically, like, I'm a lefty. The SGW stereotype is Lily Orchard. It's hilarious.
the character regarded
And she gets pissed when people call her that.
with derision by a lot of people, which matched up nicely to the derision she was given by everyone except Steven. Then On the Run happened. Amethyst took Steven to the kindergarten she was made in, and then complete tonal whiplash occurred as Amethyst attacks Pearl in a rage before loudly vocalizing her self-hatred of being a homeworld gem. You know Sigrun in the new Colossus? Yeah, that's Amethyst. This is where the problems start, because this is completely abandoned until Reformed, where Amethyst's self-loathing returns in the form of, well, her form. She spent the episode constantly getting destabilized and rushing her regeneration, much to Garnet's chagrin. When Garnet remarks that her new forms look ridiculous, Amethyst flies into a rage and her inadequacy issues come up for the second time and is abandoned again until Cry for Help, where Amethyst sings about being inadequate to Sardonyx. It's abandoned again until Crack the Whip in Steven vs. Amethyst, where Jasper taunts her about being overcooked, and is then abandoned again until the zoo, where Amethyst meets the other Amethyst from the same kindergarten and sees that they're all overcooked and defective like she is. At time of writing, it hasn't come up since then, and it looks like it won't come up ever again, as Amethyst has made it clear that she's not going to dump her problems on Steven when Steven is already dealing with too much from too many people. This is one of Steven.
Yeah, it's about how she feels bad about the fact that she's technically was created by the enemy in a way that hurt the Earth. So she loathes her creation a bit. It's also that she feels very undercooked. She's apparently quote unquote undercooked. And Jasper plays off of that. Like, it doesn't all have to be in the same. Like, I feel like she's not acknowledging that each of these episodes have like a conclusion to the bit. If the episode ends and she feels better by the end of them, it's basically a thing of her problems, or she has a lot of problems, and when they come up, they get dealt with, and she slowly improves over time. Like she's acting like it just, what is it? Like it just pops up like, oh, she's angry, and then the episode continues, and nothing happens with it. The only time that really does happen is with
She was come up for the second time and was abandoned again until Cry for Help.
Cry for Help. Because then the plot turned out to there was a reveal about what was going on, so it kind of did get sidelined. I'll give it to her there, but like, whatever.
Finding a means to just quietly retcon it and transform the character into an actual supporting character carries a lot more integrity than sticking stubbornly to your bad ideas. And Amethyst post-Zoo was generally one of the more enjoyable characters now that she wasn't adding onto the pile of misery.
Yeah, because her character arc resolved. She was finally like secure with who she was, so she didn't have any more problems.
Anywhere else.
Ooh. Ooh, that's not a good in 1.5. Or 1.25.
Garnet was something of an interesting character, at least until it was revealed that she was a fusion. For the first season, she was the grounded and sensible straight arrow to Pearl and Amethyst bullshit, often showing genuine compassion for Steven that no other character seems to show. One episode has Garnet give Steven her powers of
Here, I'm gonna let her talk about Garnet, like in its entirety, and then I'll say stuff, because this is taking way too long.
And Steven goes absolutely ballistic because he sees millions of possible deaths for himself, leading to this round. Rather touching line.
Steven, I see so many things that can hurt you. You should never have let one of them get you.
That's a really touching moment, and Garnet was full of them in the first season. Once it was revealed that she was a fusion, however... Oh boy. Garnet got demoted to extra the moment this happened, except in instances where fusion was the subject of an episode. All episodes where Garnet plays a major role, fusion was involved somehow. Some of them were good, like Garnet being horrified at the forced fusion experiments that Homeworld was conducting, that is conveniently forgotten about when it's time to talk about how sad the diamonds are. But then there's direct, like, mindful education, where Garnet vaguely sings about trauma for half the episode and nothing happens until the last minute. Once fusion became a major aspect of the series, Garnet just stopped being a character. She was a vector to talk about fusion. She was a plot device whenever Ruby and Sapphire had to split up, and then demonstrated exactly what the majority of the fandom thought of this plot twist in 3 Gems and a Baby. She was a plot device whenever Ruby and Sapphire had to split up, and then demonstrated exactly what the majority of the fandom thought of this plot twist in 3 Gems and a Baby. Garnet. Oh.
That's total horseshit. The fandom loves that Garnet's a fusion. I don't know what Lily's talking about.
Only ever gets scant moments to shine and even has to share her own wedding episode with her arch enemies. The complete neglect of Garnet is one of the series' major low points because Garnet was such a fan favorite for so long and was shunted aside in favor of more Steven, Rose, and the Diamonds. Peridot is arguably the best character in the show, but that's not the high praise anybody thinks it is. You see, a common element of a lot of Steven Universe's characters is that they struggle with insecurities, trauma, or other assorted personal demons that they do little about except some. What makes Peridot so great is the fact that she has none of that shit! Peridot is introduced making a routine check on the cluster before getting trapped on Earth, and is so terrified that she'll be stuck there when the cluster emerges that even Thunder sends her into a panic and clinging to Steven for support. There are many aspects of Earth's organic nature that she is unaware of, and as a result, many things can easily trick her into thinking that...
Oh, right, Garnet. You don't have space on yourself for Scourge. Oh, no! Get 10 more shelves. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe, like, find a spot on your desk to, like, set, like, Optimus or something. What was I going to say about Garnet? Right. Garnet is the most well put together of the group. And the reason that Ruby and Sapphire are always there when Garnet's going through something is because that Garnet is a fusion. So if Garnet's going through something, it's very likely that Ruby and Sapphire, who make up the fusion, are at conflict. And when they're at conflict, it's hard for them to stay fused. Garnet's character development is through Ruby and Sapphire because Ruby and Sapphire are Garnet. Because they're a fusion!
Is about
Anyways.
to emerge. She enters a tenuous alliance with the Crystal Gem to stop the cluster, where she gains a better appreciation for them, Earth, and living outside Homeworld's rigid caste system. After that, there wasn't really much to do with Peridot. Her 2 biggest episodes after the cluster arc were her trying to bubble a gem, and her having to deal with the fact that she doesn't have powers. I love it, you guys. Too Short to Ride is my favorite episode of the series because it involves Peridot coming to terms with the fact that she's a stunted gem like Amethyst. Side note, you ever notice that Peridot gets other people's character arcs but better? Anyway, Peridot claims the tech is a sort of prosthetic because characters and Peridots either don't have powers or in her case have extremely weak powers. Steven tries to make up for his spiritual limitations by getting a blogs in, Peridot appreciates very much. Then Lapis destroys it. After the cluster arc, Steven gives Peridot a tablet, to which Peridot is ecstatic and cherishes like she did her tape recorder. Then Amethyst tries to throw it in the ocean. She insists that Peridot doesn't need it because Amethyst doesn't understand exactly why Peridot is so dejected about not having powers. And Peridot freaks out. The panic and desperation in Peridot's voice just... I felt it. When you have possessions you care about, especially when they're a gift from the closest thing you have to family, those things have a strong personal value to you. Peridot got her tablet as a gift, a very thoughtful gift from Steven. Something Steven gave her because he knows that tech is very important to Peridot. And then Amethyst tries to fucking trash it. Why is everyone breaking Peridot's gifts from Steven? In her panic, Peridot discovers that she can actually move metal, which, okay, on reflection, we should have seen that coming, but still. It's only the sheer desperation she's feeling that even unlocks this. And while Steven and Amethyst are freaking out about it, you can see Peridot very carefully navigate her tablet safely back to shore. The sheer amount of crap Peridot goes through in this one episode alone is intense, and contains more actual character work than every other episode combined. Just, can someone please give this gem a hug? After this...
Yeah, because it's a really good episode.
point, Peridot didn't start much. She mostly played comic relief to other characters and stuck around to be a support for others once in a while. But once her arc was actually done, nobody really knew what to do with her. It was almost like Sugar realized that, unlike any other character, Peridot was just finished. Every other character arc is tediously dragged out so Sugar can keep retreading the same ground. She couldn't do that with Peridot. Peridot was a three-dimensional character, something Sugar is completely unfamiliar with. Now what do we do? So yeah, Peridot just fell by the wayside until season 5, where she had a brief stint of depression after Lapis left and she was just dealing with the breakup. So she took up gardening. But because she tried to bring life back to the kindergarten and failed, she has a breakdown over the fact that she's likely never getting her home or Lapis back again. We're gonna talk about Lapis in just a moment, but I find Lapis and Peridot's relationship fascinating. Peridot loves Lapis very much, which darkly contrasts just how cruel and nasty Lapis often is to her. Cruelty that Peridot is aware of, but seemingly doesn't care about. Even when Lapis takes all of her things and flees to the moon, there's seemingly no anger toward Lapis at all, just a stint of depression that she's gone. Where this this intentional, this would have been interesting to explore. Peridot's tertiary role as comic relief after most of her arc was finished is a contentious point for a lot of people, but to be honest, I'm okay with it. She's generally fun to be around, and like most gems that are new to Earth, she generally bumbles through learning social graces. While Peridot's demeanor can be grating to people for whom comic relief is a dirty word, her attitude and behavior actually contrast very well to the constant crying everywhere else. You see, I find myself on the opposite of that spectrum. Drama and angst only work in small bursts, or if that angst is a result of characters being shitty to each other. While outside of certain tone-required moments, there's really no such thing as too much comedy. Oh boy.
Forgot. I need to talk about Peridot. The reason Peridot was demoted to side character was because she was always intended to be a side character. It was just she was important to one of the arcs, and that same arc was when she developed her character. So for a brief amount of time, she was a bit more than a side character. I'll talk about Lapis after the Lapis section.
So the idea behind Lapis is pretty simple. Sugar wanted to write a character arc about an abuse victim recovering from an unhealthy relationship, and we know this because she did it. This is something that's rarely ever talked about with LGBT characters and can actually take advantage of the fact that they're from modern gender. Most of the episodes that heavily feature Lapis deal with her
How? Wait, how? What?
supposed trauma in her relationship with Jasper at the bottom of the ocean, her slow progress in regards to adjusting to Earth, especially compared to Navy Ruby, and her budding relationship with Peridot. So you're getting the groundwork laid for a talk about an abuse victim recovering from trauma. There's just one little itty-bitty niggling problem.
Oh, I'm done. Everyone's prisoner. Now you're my prisoner. I can't get distracted. I've got to hold us down with the weight of this planet's ocean. Light's taking everything out of it.
No, she's not. She was keeping Jasper under the ocean so that Jasper wouldn't hurt everybody and potentially kill them. She even admits right after that when she began to grow and enjoy it, she knew it was bad. But it wasn't like a scenario where she could choose to stop. She had to protect people. And it's why Lapis doesn't want to go back to the relationship with Jasper.
Planet's ocean. Light's taking everything out of it.
She's not the abuser. She's someone who started to enjoy taking her anger out on someone who hurt her. Because taking her anger out on them was basically the only thing they could do to protect everybody. Sorry.
I know I'm not the only one who notices this, but in every case that is supposed to demonstrate the unhealthy relationship between Lapis and Jasper, it's Lapis who is the abuser in that scenario. She pulled a fast one on Jasper by agreeing to fuse, only to then trap him at the bottom of the ocean, kept her chained there for over a year, and then admitted to it. This doesn't even go to Sugar's usual problem of just disregarding things in previous episodes to suit her tunnel vision. The episode that's supposed to establish Lapis as an abuse victim does the exact opposite, because Sugar writes like somebody who has never left her fucking house, or indeed spoken to another human being. Even after this blunder, Lapis continues to be a pretty nasty person. Now that's to be expected. Anybody who has even a cursory experience with abuse knows that it does not create nice people, and it's just as easy to believe that Lapis's trauma comes from being trapped in a mirror for thousands of years instead. It wasn't the fact that Lapis was a raging shitheel that made her so contentious. It was the fact that she repeatedly took that out on the one character people actually liked.
Yeah, because at one point that character also held her captive, and you don't have to forgive people right away, especially when they make it pretty clear that anytime she is acting cruel towards Peridot, it's because of the trauma, and she's not just doing it because she enjoys acting cruel to Peridot. For example, when she leaves the planet and takes the barn with them, which is where the both of them live, very clear that this is a trauma response because she's so fucking scared of Homeworld coming to Earth and killing everybody. And trauma can make you do irrational things. You know what she does? She comes back and apologizes in her own way, but she apologizes. She says, hey, like, this is just very much twisting what Lapis does. And it's acting as if Peridot never did anything bad.
You see, audiences are biased by nature, and the quickest way for a character to piss away any sympathy one might have had for them is to kick the fandom's favorite person. Peridot was that character, and arguably the most well-designed crystal gem the series had. She had a good redemption arc, actually helped save the world, mouth off to a fascist dictator, actually learned to deal with her problems, and outside of those instances was one of the funniest characters in the supporting cast.
Yeah, and when Lapis was cruel to her, other than the time she took the barn, she didn't know that and still didn't trust her.
And she was the one who reached out to Lapis and tried really hard to make her feel welcome, despite Lapis treating her like dirt at every possible opportunity. What inevitably happened was Lapis found a new victim, but because Sugar continues to write for the character she thinks she wrote, rather than the one that she actually wrote, and has an understanding of abuse on par with Dr. Wolf, this all goes unaddressed and more time is spent reinforcing how sad
That's
and
not true.
angsty Lapis is. This all comes to a very heated conclusion in Raising the Bar, where the fear of being caught up in another war makes Lapis want to leave Earth. The entire episode is one long string of Lapis being the fucking worst, but a personal highlight goes to this scene.
I won't let myself get caught up in another war.
Imagine writing out and animating a scene this sinister looking and still being under the impression that you're writing an abuse victim. Now, this could have all been potentially interesting. I like the idea, to reinforce the idea, of a story about an abuser going through their own personal redemption story, changing their ways, making a turn for themselves. But that idea can only happen when the writer is aware of who this character is, and Sugar remains blissfully ignorant of that fact. You can see this clearly in the episodes where Lapis' trauma is the central focus.
Only 30
When in
minutes
this
in,
position,
Jesus.
he's almost a completely different person, which is jarring to say the least.
Could have been me.
No, you know what? No, I already said everything.
Extraction arrived at Metabase.
Jasper was arguably the first villain to show up. As far as setting up a conflict, they nailed it with Jasper. There wasn't never really much to Jasper, just a lot of pushing up through while simultaneously trying to recognize them. Yeah, Sugar mostly just hyped up a boss fight with her. Even at the end of Jailbreak, she fuses with Lapis, who proceeds to trap her under the ocean to torture her. Unfortunately, when Jasper came out, she was different. Sugar went on record as saying Jasper was somebody who was racked by self-loathing, and really? Another self-loathing plot? Regardless, we don't get to do much with that as Jasper is fusion battle and corrupted because she chooses
She was different? How? How was she different? What?
the corrupted gem. This is probably the closest the show has ever come to literally bullshitting their way out of a plot, and it's mostly because of the Steven-focused morality the show has.
What?
To put it simply, because we're going to expand on it later, if Steven likes someone, then there are a million excuses, and that wasn't so bad for their actions. But if Steven doesn't like someone, they deserve to chill. This would be an interesting character flaw, but weren't for the fact that the show is using this metric to determine who the sympathetic and irredeemable characters are. So Jasper and Kevin are terrible, but the consistently worse Diamonds, Lars, Ronaldo, Lapis, and Andy are sympathetic. The show says Steven likes this person, therefore you should too.
You are to leave the club.
What? Okay, wait. Yeah, that was the whole segment. Holy shit. What? She just made gestures and didn't explain anything. No. How was Jasper different? I can't even fucking... Jasper didn't feel different at all. She felt very much the same. She was just now more desperate. That was literally it, because she didn't have the backing of Homeworld behind her anymore. Steven focused morality. Steven very much tried to reach out to Jasper. There's a whole ass scene where Peridot's well, okay, to be fair, Steven wasn't the one who did. It was Peridot, but since Peridot reached out and Jasper denied it, Steven was kind of also just like, okay, we already tried. What?
Wrong. It will tear apart the Earth, and I will take immense satisfaction in erasing that hideous rock off of our star maps. Is that clear?
Yellow Diamond is the proof that everything Sugar says about having planned everything from the start is a complete lie. When Yellow Diamond first appeared, she was exactly the kind of character we had come to expect from all the setup. Menacing, ruthless, and cold-hearted. She was posed, animated,
Extraction
and voiced
arrived
perfectly.
at
What do I mean when I say this? Well, the Diamonds are all blatant space Nazis right down to committing at least 2 acts of genocide. There isn't much you can do with that as far as complexity goes, unless you're a shit person. So all you can really do is instill a feeling in the viewer of kicking your ass is going to be fun. This tends to be why the more overtly totalitarian a character is, the more they're reduced to just a string of intimidating poses and ass-kicking. It's all saying, here's our villain, they kick so much ass, so it's gonna be all the sweeter when we grind their face into the dirt. There's just one problem. Sugar hated it. Sugar didn't write this episode, and apparently hated Yellow Diamond in this so much that she personally wrote and storyboarded her next appearance, and that will be all, which had her radically change from being ruthless and cold-hearted to repressing her grief over the loss of Pink Diamond.
Context, motherfucker! Literally, people act different depending on the context. The first time you meet Yellow Diamond, she's talking to a person she views as lesser, and gets very angry because the orders are being defied. The second time is when she's talking to a person that she views as her equal and someone she cares about. So no shit she acts different, you dumbass.
After this, her next appearance was in the trial, also not written by Sugar, and Yellow was back to being a colorful dark
Because of context!
theater. You can see this pushing and pulling with Yellow throughout the series, and depending...
Holy fuck. Oh my god. Characters can act different depending on context. Jesus Christ.
On who is writing her, she becomes a completely different character. For a while, someone was pushing back against Sugar's insistence that the villains be sad little babies, but Sugar ultimately won out, and by the time of Reunited, Yellow was racked with grief and immediately experiences a turnaround as Steven literally bullshits everyone's problems away, and oh my god. Of the 4 diamonds, Yellow Diamond was the biggest disappointment because she was the only one introduced as a villain, and whom Sugar had to keep fucking with in order to break her into her terrible, sad mold.
You cannot fathom how much I've mourned.
Again, they act different depending on the context, whatever.
There's a grief has done to me.
Blue Diamond is arguably one of the worst characters in the show because from the moment of her debut, her actual debut, she was nothing but a grief-racked mess that's supposed to be sympathetic to people who don't know what sympathetic is. Personally, I find something rather disgusting in Blue Diamond being portrayed as having grieved for thousands of years over the loss of Pink Diamond, while holocausting both Crystal and Homeworld gems both before and after that time for various reasons, up to and including mouthing off, being defective, fusing, and just because she feels like it.
Certainly gave everyone a scare. They're all just thrilled to see you safe and sound.
Really? I don't think she's portrayed as sympathetic. Well, like, we're not really with her that much. There's a difference between making her feel sympathetic and just showing her grieving. Because, like, the show is not sympathetic towards who she is. It's very clear that what she does is bad. Like, they call out many times what she's doing is bad. Again, this sympathy that Steven apparently has for the 2 diamonds that Lily claims isn't sympathy. It's he found a loophole and he's gonna abuse that loophole to end the fucking war. So now the diamonds don't want to kill him anymore.
White Diamond was Sugar's last-ditch effort to make the other 3 diamonds look sympathetic in the face of mounting and severe criticism of the way she was writing. Introduced with shudders and dread, showcased as a towering figure that talks like Mother Gothel, and whose pearl has a cracked eye and a 1,000-yard stare, and the implication that she has Pink Diamond's original pearl because of the way their gems are positioned, and that theory is just stupid enough to actually be canon.
Why is that stupid?
Diamond was an enigma.
They do actually a cool thing with it. How, and they talk about how much of a fucking abuser and piece of shit Pink Diamond was. That's what they do with it.
For a long time, and is presented as the true villain by being a fuck-ton scarier than the villains we've already had. It may be familiar to people who play modern video games and are accustomed to microtransactions after the loot box Armageddon of 2017. It's not working for the people who actually paid attention to this shit, but it's still scummy. You can see that characters are the ones that suffer the most from Sugar's bad priorities and fragmented storytelling. When main characters have to deal with their issues, it happens extremely quickly because Sugar is cramming it all in at the last minute in order to make sure there's plenty of time for her Beach City coffee shop AU. This means character arcs have the simultaneous problem of being dragged out and rushed beyond belief, as their issues are ignored
They weren't
or
dragged
shrugged
out.
off for the majority of an arc before bolting to the finish line in the final episode, if at all. The only character I would say was handled well was Peridot, as once her arc was completed, she mostly became a mood lifter. And that's honestly what I think she works best as. The rest are scattered, and Sugar doesn't seem to know what to do with them. So many characters just stand around doing nothing because they have to be there, and it seems Sugar would rather find some excuse to write them out of the plot entirely. You know, at the same time I was writing this script, I was also covering Little Witch Academia in a minute, and I noticed a similar thing happened there, where the main cast shifts in the second half of the series, and the fun characters get demoted to extra while being replaced by characters that are far less interesting. And now I'm wondering something. You see, Steven Universe is chock full of anime references. Like, way too fucking many.
When does that happen with Steven Universe? What? That was the most unrelated fucking point. What? According to you, the fun characters were the ones that were focused on... What? Okay.
The crew is really obsessed with anime and shoves references into it at every possible opportunity, and I think they're shoving it into their writing as well. That would explain why character arcs get rough in order to get to the next poorly animated fight scene. Whoops, did I just say that out loud?
Oh. Okay.
I don't want to dwell too long on the animation.
I really hate the whole, like, anime does this. Because, like, anime does everything. Anime is literally just a fucking animation genre. That's all it is. Like, fucking fuck off. It's a place where things come from. There's anime for literally everything. And anime has done literally everything, okay? So, literally anytime anybody ever goes, well, anime does this, like, I'm like, yeah, there's, like, billions of anime. I'm sure that one of them did that. Like, what the fuck?
I don't think it's a...
Oh, wait, shit. Animation. Okay, I'm gonna go.
But a lot of people do talk about it, and it is a symptom of the disease that is festering inside Steven Universe at its core. The animation in Steven Universe is bad. Really fucking bad. Characters are constantly being drawn off model, changing heights, changing proportions, changing facial structure. models flat out breaking, and many of the main characters have been shrinking down to increasingly chibi forms as the series goes on. There is almost never 2 episodes where the characters look the same, with characters made of angular shapes like Peridot being the most egregious offenders. It's clear the show does not have model sheets, a bare minimum pre-production standard for animation, and there's a good chance the storyboards are drawn freehand. None of the usual practices to maintain proper proportions for characters is being employed here, in an egregious show of laziness and unprofessional behavior. There is absolutely no excuse for the animation to be this fucking sloppy. The only episode where the animation remains on model, fluid, and without any kind of animation flumps is Mindful Education, the best animated episode. I need to make that distinction clear because I'm going to tear this thing a new asshole in a minute. Mindful Education is a strange case study because every other episode has consistent model changing and animation problems going back to the first season. There isn't any other episode except Mindful Education that doesn't look like it was animated without any pre-production whatsoever. So what the fuck happened? Easy. They got someone else to do it. Mindful Education was animated by Studio Trigger, you know, the lesbian witch people. So animation is a lot more floaty than Steven Universe is usually known for, and characters aren't model switching constantly like a PS2 era Kingdom Hearts cutscene made during crunch time.
Do you care for her? In that case, the answer is no.
You run!
Are you angry? Do you hate me? Are you angry? Do you hate me?
So yeah, the episode is very beautifully animated and really shows what Steven Universe can look like if they know what they're doing. But here's the part where I rip the rug out from underneath people. You remember how at the start of the section I said that the animation is not something I'd like to focus on because it ultimately has zero effect on the quality of the show? Mindful Education is one of the worst episodes of Steven Universe. About 3/4 of the story is dedicated to Connie apologizing over suplexing someone as a result of her combat training. This results in Shivani not being able to maintain their stability as a fusion and having to meditate with Garnet, set to a tediously long musical number about dealing with traumatic experiences. One major problem with this, however, is that the inciting incident
Wait,
is
what's the
not a
point of this? What are you talking about? Fucking okay, there's a bad episode. Yeah, what's that have to do with the animation?
concept of effort. However, handing the animation off to someone else won't really make the show better because that same laziness is also present in the writing and characterization, the core of a work. Picking apart the animation and making comparison shots are ultimately meaningless, and Mindful Education is proof of that. It's fitting that this episode is animated by Studio Trigger because they have the exact same problem I'm talking about. A lot of their shows are beautifully animated, but the writing quality is boring at best and disgustingly regressive at worst. Except that's actually a lie because this episode wasn't actually animated by Studio Trigger, and here's where I'm gonna rip the rug out from underneath everyone again. This episode is animated by the same South Korean studio that animated every other episode. One person from Trigger was brought on to do the storyboards. Not animate, the storyboards. You see, a lot of shows are animated in South Korea, and if there's one thing that characterizes South Korean animation is that they ain't got time for any of your shit. They will give you the exact kind of animation your storyboards tell them to give you. Simply put, if your storyboards suck, your animation will also suck. Looking at the storyboards for most Steven Universe episodes, they look haphazardly drawn. Now, storyboards in general have never been the pinnacle of art, they're strictly utilitarian, but you'll notice there's a consistent theme of a single line drawing. Somebody drew...
I'm being called. We got food. Okay, honestly, I'm gonna skip this animation. The animation bit, I don't really want to talk about it. Where's the YouTube video that talked about it?
garbage in here is why, which did gangbusters.
In the right state of mind.
No, this ain't the. Here's the video. Huh? Did the person?
Keep this brief. Talking about Kung Fu Panda and what it's done can be a video in and of itself. So if you want to watch something about that, go check out Cosmo's video. He did a great job talking about the trilogy and everything about it.
Okay, whatever. Okay, never mind. I'm no artist, but based off what I know from actual artists, Steven Universe animation is okay. It's not that bad. The actual like moment-to-moment frames are well done, like it's smooth. The proportions aren't that big a deal. Things can be stylized, especially since it never looks like, doesn't usually look bad. It just looks goofy. Like it's whatever.
When it comes to LGBT representation, Steven Universe got a free ride on low expectations. Because LGBT relationships are rare in children's shows, a lot of people were prepared to claim Steven Universe as the pioneer of a new era in relationship design. Of course, all of this came about in the first season, when the show was hammering home just how much Pearl was still losing her shit over Rose. It wasn't until the end of the first season that an actual relationship was even established in Ruby and Sapphire, and that's where the problems start. I've talked before about how Garnet was an interesting idea of literally being a relationship, but with the show doing absolutely nothing with her, the implications of her existence became even more prominent. Garnet was a very easy way to avoid doing any actual work with Ruby and Sapphire in regards to developing their relationship. If you recall last year in my Legend of Korra video, I talked about how one of the easiest ways to write a solid relationship is to start in medias res and make liberal use of couple banter. Those of you wanting to know how to write a relationship, that's a good foundation to get you started. Also comedy. This is the bare minimum standard that Steven Universe just can't commit to. Sugar always took every excuse she could to hide Ruby and Sapphire in the walk-in closet that is Garnet's hips. And this strikes me as surprising because when Garnet is unfused, Ruby and Sapphire are a surprisingly well-written and fun relationship. Either they're in the midst of a heated fight like in Keystone Motel, being adorable to the point of hilarious incompetence like in Hit the Diamond, or just being the rock, lol, that keeps the other grounded in a time of anxiety like in That Will Be All. They even have a big fight after the Pink Diamond revelation, and it looks like they might break up, and after a few episodes where Pearl gaslights Sapphire and Steven goes off to find Ruby, they not only make up, but they get engaged. I'll admit that caught me off guard because I thought they were already married. Incidentally, the episode where they get married is probably the best episode of the okay, it would be the best episode of the series, but in the last half, the space fascists crash the party and Steven tries to make friends with them. That's a whole mess of fucked up that we'll get into later.
I already talked about that.
Although I find it both hilarious and sad that the first gay...
Oh, that's actually, that's when he's like realizes he can abuse a loophole. That episode? I already talked about that.
Wedding in a children's show had to share its screen time with, look how sad these Nazis are. I mean, good on Rebecca Sugar for accurately reflecting modern politics, at least. For all of her failings in other areas, when it's time for Ruby and Sapphire to come out of their overcoat, Sugar shows a surprising ability to write a grounded, enjoyable relationship. When people talk about LGBT representation, this is it right here. Writing a good LGBT relationship is so easy that even Rebecca Sugar can do it. She's forced to. But it seems like most of the time, good LGBT relationship is so easy that even Rebecca Sugar can do it when she's forced to. But it seems like most of the time she just doesn't want to and keeps Ruby and Sapphire locked inside Garnet at all times. This wouldn't be a problem if it weren't for the fact that Garnet saw a consistent and rapid decline from being the only gem with her head on straight to just being a vessel to give exposition about fusion, which only happens about 5% of the time in the series anyway. As a result, Ruby and Sapphire don't get to do much unless Garnet has become unstable, which has only happened on a few rare occasions. This is the fundamental problem of Garnet being a permafusion. Fusions are separate characters from the gems they're fused with, and only in rare instances.
Scourge is way more complicated to transform than the G2 Optimus had in the 90s. Yeah, I really like the Scourge transformation that Legacy gave it. Really good.
Do they function like two or more people? It's hard to say Steven Universe is a pioneer of LGBT representation when the only two characters who further that idea aren't present for the vast majority of the series. The only other instance of this was Pearl's one-sided relationship with Rose, characterized for most of the series as a pathological obsession brought on by unrequited love. To say Pearl was a wreck over losing Rose is an understatement. She's almost constantly falling apart at the seams. Considering the gems have been around for 6,000 years and Steven is only 14, Rose's absence is still very much a new thing for them. Pearl's creepy obsession with Rose was interesting for a while, but it got old very quickly. Even attempts to pair Pearl up with someone else were kneecapped by that someone else looking exactly like Rose.
People can find other people attractive even when those people look like people you've dated in the past.
People ultimately got tired of Pearl's character going fucking nowhere outside of her unrequited love and were hoping Sugar would do something else with her. That
Like, she keeps
unfortunately turned
making
out to
these
be a
stick
regret because
shit.
what Sugar did was gross.
She keeps saying, like, oh, people wanted this, people wanted that. What? What? Like, that wasn't a common thing in the fan base. Common thing in the fan base was lore discussion, not individual character, whatever.
And were hoping Sugar would do something else with her. That unfortunately turned out to be a regret because what Sugar did was gross and horrifying. With the revelation that Rose is Pink Diamond, also came the revelation that Pearl was Pink Diamond's Pearl, given to her as a slave. This fundamentally altered the dynamic between Rose and Pearl, as now we're being shown a slave falling in love with her master, and the show seeing absolutely nothing wrong with that. If this had been some kind of sad fact about
Oh, no.
Pearl,
It does. I already talked about that.
that would have been one thing, but the show treats it as at best a quirk of their relationship and at worst as impossibly romantic.
It's over, isn't it? Why can't I move on?
Oh, we know why.
Tell me to stop. Please don't ever stop.
A slave falling in one-sided love with her master and said master taking advantage of that the way Rose did is an extremely dark story premise, but Sugar doesn't think of it that way. Steven Universe loves to talk about abuse as a central theme, and yet the biggest example of it has flown completely over Sugar's head. Not even a single acknowledgement of just how fucked up this whole thing is. It's like reading erotic fanfiction written by the weirdest, scariest sub ever. Pearl's strange and lopsided relationship with Rose even extends to her relationship with Steven.
Why are you here, Pearl?
Me? Nothing. I was just, well, you know how I always say, I like to watch you sleep sometimes. And by sometimes, I mean often.
Ha!
It's supposed to be creepy.
See, it's funny because actually that's not funny, that's just creepy.
It's
This is
supposed to
played
be.
for a joke. Sugar's idea of relationships is warped, to say the least. This is not good representation. There's a reason that stories about LGBT relationships rarely cover these kind of issues, and that's because when these issues are botched this badly, it ultimately ends up being a reinforcement for conservative paranoia about gay relationships as some kind of twisted deviancy and finds its way into the next bill to criminalize being gay. So there's been something of an unspoken agreement to not cover those things until it can be certain that they won't become arrows in the quiver
They
of
did.
the banned
They
gays
talked
club.
about it. Yeah. No, I already talked about this. How this isn't what happened.
Conservatives and their stubborn bigotry are the reason LGBT representation is as politicized as it is. Having the biggest concentration of representation come from such a myopic, melodramatic, and reckless person like Rebecca Sugar is not the political milestone so many people think it is. Handling those things well would be great. It'd be amazing if a show talked about gay relationships and talked about how, just like straight relationships, they can be rockier, sometimes unhealthy, and actually stuck the landing. But doing that is extremely difficult, and Sugar continues to put her foot in her mouth by coming up to instances of clear and obvious abuse and saying, how romantic. This is before we even address the fact that LGBT characters in the series are exclusively restricted to the Gen, a monogendered race of aliens. This conveniently sidesteps the usual conservative freakout that the show might otherwise garner, but in doing so gives the implicit lesson that giving valuable representation is second priority to placating a group of emotionally stunted crybabies. The LGBT representation is something that will be easily discarded if it risks cutting into the bottom line. And you know what? If that's your attitude, then more power to you. But don't pretend Steven Universe—
Honestly, I have no way to back this up as, like, behind the scenes can only be speculated. But, like, the show was being developed in, like, the early 2010s. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some restrictions given by Cartoon Network back then. Like, I really wouldn't be surprised.
versus some kind of pioneer. The half-measure, blink and you'll miss it representation isn't new. It's been around for over a decade. It's practically formulaic. The fact that people pretend this is in any way brave is fucking ridiculous. This isn't even getting into the complete middle finger that non-binary people get. Non-binary characters in Steven Universe exist entirely to avoid having to deal with the implications that many of Sugar's character designs create. Like how Stevani, despite being the fusion of both a boy and a girl, has their design very much leaning on the feminine end of the gender spectrum, might say something interesting about Steven, especially considering some choice moments in the first season when he says, "But if it were me, I'd really want to be a giant." Nah, they're envy. That's just easier. Congratulations, Steven Universe. You've created a situation where a character being non-binary is the least interesting explanation you could offer. I don't know how on earth you managed to do that. That should be literally fucking impossible. Non-binary people are, by their very definition, interesting, and you managed to make that boring. That's like trying to climb a set of stairs and getting hit by a train. How'd you even do that? Speaking of which, the two characters who are presented as non-binary, Steven and Smoky Quartz, are both fusions. The only indication given that they're non-binary is that they use plural pronouns, which are common among non-binary people. But they're also fusions of multiple people, so it's highly likely that these two fusions don't even get to be their own person like other fusions do. There's your bigger problem. Because of a quirk of language, I have no idea if these characters are actually singular non-binary entities or just a hive mind like the fucking board.
No, it's very no. There are a few times in the show when other fusions, including Stevani and I forget Amethyst and Steven's fusion, that when a fusion becomes unstable, it can start talking to itself because it's literally the two people are growing like unsynchronized, if that makes sense. But again, when stable, it is it is one person.
The only tell would be how they refer to themselves in the first person.
I wish you were here. If we were together, it would be okay.
I hate you. I really do. Actually, a Season 5 episode had Kevin explicitly refer to Stevani as they, so well done, Kevin. You were finally good for something. Better 4 years late than never. It's almost like somebody pointed out to Sugar that the information about Stevani being non-binary was only ever confirmed on Twitter, and that's not how storytelling works. Speaking of which, Stevani comes with their own host of issues. This show really pervs on Stevani every chance it can get. Despite them being androgynous, well, you know, according to Sugar at least, Stevani is about as hard feminine as you can possibly get, and the camera angles around them to get as many shots of their body as possible.
No. It doesn't. The shot just shown was not perving on her.
As hard feminine as you can possibly get, and
you can see this character is surprised to see that Stevani won. At this point, like, Lily is just saying, oh, they have a feminine figure, and feminine figures tend to have wider hips. They have a feminine figure, so this shot where it shows their figure is pervy.
On them to get as many shots of their body as possible. Ordinarily, this
is just their back.
Wouldn't be surprising. Animated shows perving on female or feminine characters is nothing.
Like, this is very
to get as many shots of their body as possible. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be surprising. Animated shows perving on
this shot is this character being surprised that, one, they're fused, and two, that they won. Like, there's no sexual, like, undertones to this.
Male or feminine characters is nothing new, but Stevani is literally two kids in a trench coat. And this is a fact that's not casually ignored by the writers. In their debut episode, Stevani is creeped on by some skeezy fuck, but the moment their fusion destabilizes, this happens.
That's 2 kids. I'm out.
Okay, great. Well done, Kevin. You passed the basic minimum requirement of a human being. Here's your mediocre trophy. Except Kevin and Stevani have another encounter in the episode Beach City Drift. And not only does Kevin remember that Stevani has 2 kids fused, he continues to hit on them.
Yo, 2 kids in a beautiful trench coat routine won't fool me this time, so don't even try it. I know you want to be close, but this is a little clingy.
Kevin is literally hitting on 2 kids, and is aware of that fact.
It's supposed to be gross.
The episode portrays him as a bog-standard creep that literally every woman on the planet has met at least once in their lives,
but
Kevin's disturbing behavior goes a lot deeper than that, and none of the writers notice or seem to care. And I'm not surprised that's the case. The show aggressively sexualizes Stevani nearly every time they appear, and the consistent and ever-present fact that their 2 kids fused together is repeatedly acknowledged and simultaneously ignored. When the writers want to pull some kind of, ooh, so subversive stunt, the fact that this is Steven and Connie is loudly placed front and center. When the writers want to gawk at Stevani's ass, they never seem to acknowledge it. Also, Stevani is apparently 26 because that's Steven and Connie's age is fused. Are you shitting me? That's the kind of excuse I'd expect to see in a bad anime, Sugar. Actually, that brings me to the big question. Why did 2 small children create a conventionally attractive woman when they fuse? Out of all the fusion designs dragged from the bowels of the world's craziest acid trip, this landmark fusion of a human and a gem creates a rather generic-looking woman as a result. And let's not forget, these are children. Putting aside just how sleazy it is to do this with children, children are some of the most imaginative little shits in the world. If any fusion should have 4 arms, 6 eyes, and a venom-spitting cobra for an ass, it's Stevani. But no, it's just generic pretty lady. If I had to hazard a guess based on the rest of the decisions in the show, I think Sugar developed the look of Stevani first, and then tried to find a way to cram them into the story somehow, and simply didn't consider the implications of Stevani's very existence, and the way they're often framed and sexualized. The fact that this is 2 children often being gawked at by the camera just didn't occur to anybody. I mean, that's the optimistic reading. The cynical reading is that Sugar's obsession with anime has taken a toll on her psychological well-being. The hasty addition of Steven and Connie's ages after the fact seems to lean hard in that direction. Hi, this is Lily. I'm cutting in because as I was editing this bit, I found a little nugget of information about Stevani straight from Sugar's mouth. In an interview in 2015, Sugar talked about her supposed intent behind Stevani, and it reads like this. Stevani challenges gender norms as an individual, but also serves as a metaphor for all the terrifying firsts in a first relationship, and what it feels like to hit puberty and suddenly find yourself with the body of an adult. How quickly that happens, how it feels to have new power over people, or to suddenly find yourself objectified, all for seemingly no reason, since you're still just you. And they are still just them. They're Steven and Connie, who you already know and relate to. And if you do, you can feel, for this episode, what those feelings are like. Okay, first of all, that's not how puberty works, you fucking idiot! You don't just suddenly have the body of an adult, you develop it over time! No 14, 15, or 16-year-old has a fully developed body.
That's horseshit. That is not true at all. As someone who is a 16-year-old and was a 14 and 15-year-old not that long ago, that's total horseshit.
It's idea people have from teenagers being played by grown-ass adults on TV.
No. Well, yes, but no.
You want to showcase puberty? Give Stevani a cracked voice and acne. That's what fucking puberty is like. But that wouldn't be conventionally attractive now, would it? Second of all, your best way to demonstrate being objectified is to literally fucking objectify Stevani? That's your best excuse? Holy fucking, this isn't a metaphor.
They don't
This is just
objectify
being
her.
the thing. Sugar, you are such a
They don't objectify Stevani.
fucking creep. There is one more thing, though, and that's Ruby and Sapphire's wedding. After coming apart from the revelation that Rose was Pink Diamond the entire time, they wander around apart for a bit, with Ruby turning into a cowgirl? I like the tiny red lesbian, but I don't understand the tiny red lesbian. When they finally make up, Ruby asks Sapphire to marry her, and we get the first on-screen same-sex wedding in a children's show. I don't have much to say about it. I'm just pointing out the one actual tiny milestone Steven Universe has. Well done on that front, Steven Universe. Here's your tiny trophy. I look forward to the day a good show does this and we can all collectively forget about you.
I'll be right back. I'm getting more food. Okay, we're back.
Okay, so if you're new to literary criticism, you've probably heard me use terms like coded or coding and going, what the fuck does that mean, Lily? It seems that even among Steven Universe's fanbase, the concept of coding isn't widely understood. This is a problem because it means that the extremely troubling racial aspects of Steven Universe fly over people's heads because the characters involved are aliens and not humans. So for the uninitiated, coding is the use of visual and auditory signifiers to apply traits commonly understood to be indicative of gender, ethnicity, or other demographics onto characters that are otherwise completely detached from human understanding, or even just those demographics in particular. Coding can be subtle or blatant, and the concept is most understood when it's the latter. For example, here are the Tauren from World of Warcraft. Now what does that look like to you? This is called racial coding, and with the Tauren in particular, it goes beyond visual signifiers and directly to how they're characterized, right down to being nomadic and forming a tenuous alliance with new colonizers to their homeland. It works out better for them than it did for us. Thrall and Cairn Bloodhoof are bros. Okay, they were bros. Anyway, what does this have to do with Steven Universe? Well, racial and gender coding is universal among the gems. It's been blatant and in your face from the moment the series began, and only recently did Sugar confirm that racial coding is a deliberate design aspect, which makes it all the more strange in how exactly the show treats its black characters in the main cast. This was most recognizable with the introduction of Bismuth, a character that was appropriately coded, considering her overwhelming characterization as a revolutionary against an unjust, oppressive regime whose supreme leader has white in their name. From the characterization to the visual design to the fucking voice, you'd have to be willfully ignorant to not see what's going on here. The fact of the matter is, Bismuth Bismuth is coded black, which is what makes it all the more gross that her defining character moment is Rose getting on her case for being too extreme when dealing with literal fascists for whom the rigid and aggressive caste system was an all too familiar wound, and then bubbling her for thousands of years only for her to break out of her bubble and repeat this entire runaround where she will presumably write the letter from Beach Temple Jail. That's a smart joke, everyone. And let's not forget who it is that derides Bismuth as too extreme in the first place. Rose, a character who is wholly uninterested with liberation of gems from Homeworld and just wants the Earth to be left alone so she has somewhere to walk through gardens and fuck human dudes. A literal white moderate being snippy and dismissive of a black woman who wants to fight against an oppressive regime. Oh, but the shocking twist is that Rose was one of the people who was benefiting from the oppressive regime the entire time. That's not as shocking as you think it is, Rebecca. Of course Rose was a privileged moron because only a privileged moron would try to pull that just as bad why can't we all be moderate horse shit. What makes this moment so horrible is that this was just left here for years. Allegedly, Sugar planned every story element beforehand, something that I simply do not believe. But if it's true, Sugar let this episode sit here, stinking up the place and leaving a bad taste in everybody's mouths just so she could have her shocking twist that didn't actually shock anybody. Everyone and their grandmother was tearing this episode apart for the fucked up lol so neutral hack of a theme, and the crew just let it happen. Let's go back in time a bit. There was a controversy around Far Cry 4 when this image was posted to Ubisoft's social media with the presence of a white passing man sitting on a throne with his hand rested patronizingly on the head of a native. Many people questioned that this looked extremely racist. Now, this image was taken out of context, with Ubisoft clarifying a week later that this guy isn't white and he's also the villain of the game. However, while the image was taken out of context, it was Ubisoft who posted it to their Twitter.
Out of context, like most of what you do with this show.
Without any context to draw from. They threw up this image of a fair-skinned man looking cool and suave as he dominated a local and said nothing about it. The image being taken out of context is a direct result of Ubisoft not providing the context. So when people say, we don't know all the details, I ask, and whose fault is that? This image, without any other context behind it, was what Bismuth was for 2 fucking years. Sugar's insistence on giving the audience as little information as possible backfired in the most spectacular way and was long considered a huge black mark on the series. A lot of people forgave it after the Pink Diamond reveal and Bismuth was unbubbled for the wedding, but it shouldn't have taken this long to get here. Without the context of the rest of the series, this episode looks so disgustingly racist that you could practically hear Steven yelling, "All lives matter!" and Sugar just let it remain in that state. Bismuth wasn't the first example of some pretty worrying attitudes from the writers, however. Garnet, despite being a fan favorite, never really got the chance to be her own person.
I talked before about how Bismuth was weirdly and kind of poorly handled. I don't know much to add.
All her episodes were either about fusion or future vision. Unlike any other fusion, Garnet is the most stoic and one-dimensional, which is weird considering she's one of 2 permafusions in the show. Garnet, like Bismuth, is explicitly coded to an unprecedented degree and yet gets so little actual development. But Garnet is small potatoes to when she fuses even further. You see, here's the interesting thing about crystal gem fusions. See, when it comes to the other crystal gems, Pearl is coded white because she's shaded that way and gets away with attempted murder, and Amethyst is... Okay, Amethyst is actually kind of lost on me because I'm not as perceptive as I like to think I am, but I've heard people claim she's black-coded, I've heard others saying she's Latin, and honestly, either one makes my point anyway. My point is, when Pearl fuses with someone, the fusions that are created tend to be graceful and are often accompanied by smooth, easy-listening music. Opal, Sardonyx, Rainbow Quartz, they're all graceful dancers taking more from Pearl than anybody else. So what happens when Garnet and Amethyst fuse? They turn into a hideous, ape-like, violently aggressive monster with absolutely no impulse control and needs to be subdued by Pearl. But hey, at least Amethyst is the one who's wielding the whip.
I forgot how great it feels to be me.
Wait a minute, that sounds familiar. Is that Mila Kunis? Hang on, I'm gonna look this up. Really? Nicki Minaj? Voicing a hideous evil monster? Great, that's fucking great. That's what, a bad 4chan meme? Funnily enough, Sugilite appeared in the next season but was suspiciously unvoiced, and season 1 audio was recycled for a brief clip in Know Your Fusion. Why do I get the sneaking suspicion that this design was not disclosed and then when the episode aired, someone was pissed? Anyway, the best part
No, they couldn't afford her. That's why. She's very expensive.
about this episode is that Sugilite, who's characterized as the most out-of-control, angry bitch, has to be subdued by the dainty and feminine Pearl. Sorry, did I say best? I meant depressing. The most blatantly daunting part about this episode is that this subduing of a large black woman is considered a way to make Pearl better as a character and a person. Pearl's growth in this episode hinged on her ability to tear apart a large, unrepentant black woman. She sings a damn song about how she can't be strong in a real way until she can take on this big fucking brute. Jesus Christ, Rebecca, are you on fucking Ambien? Look, this shouldn't be rocket science. When one of the decidedly non-white characters fuses with the white character, the end result is something graceful and beautiful. When they fuse with each other, they create a hideous monster who's aggressively violent and with no self-control. I could go on, but Sugilite has been thoroughly deconstructed by much of Steven Universe's black fanbase in
For once, I'm handing it to Lily. She's not wrong.
much more detail and from a much better position of expertise than I could ever hope to achieve. I'll be honest, racial coding as character design flies over my head most of the time. I had to read essays from black viewers to even begin to cover the myriad of problems with Sugilite, so I'm gonna put them in the description and you can have the depressing learning experience that I did making this video. Besides, we have more concrete examples of Crewniverse's racist crap. fuck you, that segue was brilliant. Steven Universe had an art book release that contained a lot of unused gem concepts, such as Steven healing the Earth Beetle to find that she's a very tiny gem, and Amethyst looking like... Oh, that is not good. The whole book featured a lot of unused or scrapped ideas that never made it into the show proper. But then you turn the page and you're greeted with, oh, for fuck's sake, are you kidding me with this shit? Concrete, a gem with pitch black skin, thick, bright white lips, and carries the production note that she can't read. Take a wild guess how that went over. This time, nobody was pulling any punches whatsoever. This was very explicitly racist, and like Bismuth, was just left there out in the open like that. Many people attempted to finalize Concrete's design to make her look like less of a 1930s Warner Brothers cartoon, but that doesn't absolve Sugar of this. Sugar didn't design this, but she seemingly did nothing about its very existence, and it just sat there in the sketchbook. Worse off, when it came time to release the sketchbook, this drawing somehow, beyond all reason, managed to make it into the public hands, and the public reacted very appropriately. The response to this got so heated and so bad that Sugar had to take the rare occasion to actually open her damn mouth and explain herself. These pieces were created carelessly, and it was wrong to include them in this book. While I did not personally create or select this material, I did visit during the approval process, and I take full responsibility as executive producer. This apology and explanation confirmed what I've been saying about Rebecca Sugar for years. She's just not paying attention to what is going on around her. This drawing should never have made it into the public hands. It should have been found and remembered as, oh yeah, this one, let's not release this. Sugar admits to there having been an approval process, but apparently Concrete snuck past anyway, alongside Pimp Amethyst? I'm gonna call bullshit. Nobody was checking this shit. Nobody is ever checking their shit. Fucking Steam has more oversight than this fucking show. How do you draw
That's not true.
something like this and not immediately recognize what the fuck you've done? How is it that you don't realize what
I get it's a joke, but like, oh, no, it does not.
your crew is drawing until Twitter blows up at you about it? The sheer density and obliviousness of the crew is fucking infuriating. Oh, and we're not done, by the way. Let's not forget the human zoo! That thing Pink Diamond put humans into for her amusement that showed up in one episode and then never made a single return. The human zoo is particularly gross because they were real things during the colonial era. It wasn't uncommon for Black and First Nation people to be paraded around in zoos for the amusement of rich white assholes, and was considered to be totally okay by them because they didn't believe Black and Native people were human. Pink Diamond's human zoo shows up and nothing is ever done with it. Here's the thing about the human zoo. It doesn't exist for any other reason than for Sugar to draw what she thinks is a utopian society. Katie Mitroff, a storyboarder for Steven Universe, said as much on her Tumblr. Ages ago, Rebecca pitched the zoo to Lamar and I as this utopian hippie society full of beautiful and healthy people with no concept of pain or sadness. So we went to town drawing as many different kinds of hot people as possible. 70s sci-fi, hippie communes, the time machine, the footlight parade, and the Centaurette sequence from Fantasia were all influences for this episode.
Yikes.
I find it interesting how she says they drew inspiration from the Centaurette sequence from Fantasia because this is the Centaurette sequence from Fantasia. So that
I'm gonna say something, actually, about that. Most releases of Fantasia dropped the Centaurette sequence so that you couldn't see the very racist racistly drawn Black Centaur. So it is completely possible and likely that it was not seen in this original form.
MJ needs backup at Norman's pet house.
Okay, we're back.
Robbery in progress.
Oh, yeah.
Suspects armed.
My point was,
With caution.
entirely possible that the Centaurette sequence was viewed by the Crewniverse and they did not see the racist version. If anything, it's more likely.
That's 4 times this has happened now. Also, the fact that these people used a human zoo, which, I will remind you, were actual horrific things in history, as a vector to draw as many kinds of hot people living in a hippie-loving utopia as possible. Hey, Crewniverse, what's wrong with you? Like, what is actually fucking wrong with you? Here's the thing, and I've been holding off on mentioning this until now. Steven Universe has a very ethnically diverse crew. With the way this is written, you could be forgiven for thinking that this show is made by Rebecca Sugar and all of her whitest friends, but no, there's a lot of diversity in the crew. How does this keep happening? I know being a minority doesn't automatically make one a complete expert of systemic bigotry. Fuck, Rebecca Sugar is Jewish, and yet she constantly struggles with the concept that fascists are bad. But someone had to at some point see some of the shit that goes into this show and go, why the fuck are we making this? Any one of these things can be written down to a mistake or an oversight, but all four at the same time? That apology regarding Concrete doesn't explain why Sugalite made it through the supposed vetting process. It doesn't explain why, when Sugar pitched the idea of a human zoo as a hippie utopia, nobody raised their hand and went, what the fuck? Why nobody thought to question everything about business introduction? Why did nobody, despite supposedly knowing it from the start, say to Sugar that having your big twist be that the supposed hero of the story was actually one of the Nazis in space the whole time was a stupid idea? Speaking of which...
Thanks, Pete. Wish me luck. Okay. Norman's penthouse is on the top floor, but the elevator's on lockdown. Need to get into the security room to unlock it.
Fuck. How long was it muted? My mic was muted for a long time. My mic was muted for a long time, wasn't it? That's not good. Yep. Okay, basically what I said was I don't have an opinion on the human zoo because it doesn't really I haven't really thought about that much in the past. I guess it could be offensive, but like whatever. Well, you said BRB a while ago, Doc, so yeah. I'm wondering, do you think so there's about 45 minutes left of this video. 50 minutes left of this video. Do you think I should watch the rest of it or what? Cuz there's going to be a lot to talk about, especially in this area. Oh god, I forgot. She talks about Star Wars for like 10 minutes. No! I don't want to talk about Star Wars right now. No. Yeah, 125. Yeah, 10 minutes of just Star Wars. Oh my god, no. Oh, god damn it. Seems like a video you'd never care about watching personally. Well, no, that's the thing. It's like, eh. Like, Or do you listen to them ramble? That's fair. Why would you listen to them ramble for one thing? Other people's opinions can affect a piece of media if that person's opinions spread enough. Especially since she basically paints out that you're a bad person if you enjoyed the show. So it's a little important that it's shown how wrong she is, so that other people who haven't watched the show or are really malleable in the brain don't develop the same opinions as her. If that makes sense. I've not played on my PS4 in forever. What characters do I hate now? But like literally at every point, I've like shown how she takes shit out of context. Like I don't need to keep doing this, honestly. I think I'm done. Yeah. Boop. Boopers. Who do I own? Ooh, I own Roshi and Vegito.
Vegito! Select your fighter! Select stage! World Tournament Arena!
But yeah, how long was that fucking stream? Jesus. 2 hours. It's for PS4. I can just boot it up on PC. I can stop streaming. It's actually a cool mod I think you might want to try out. Yeah, if you wanna chill, just call me on Discord and I'll end the stream. I remember seeing a fun combo. Oh wait. Oop. Oh, that's not right. Wasn't there a Wait, what the fuck? That's a thing? Huh. You blame Guilty Gear for that side switch. You blame Guilty Gear for everything. They removed this, you used to be able to link this. Oh wait, don't you No, I'm specifically trying to get this old combo link. You used to be able to I keep pressing the wrong thing. Well, no, this isn't a key blast. This is a special. Damage commanders. Oh, wait. No, yeah, it's a special. Wait, can you still do that in the corner? Yeah, I always love doing. Boop. Wait, I'm curious. You still do this. No. Okay, that's what it was. 2H. I'm just doing shit, like... Can I still do this? Okay, I can't beat. God, I love this extension. Right, you can't see the fucking thing. There. Oh, come on. Like, you can convert into the... There we go. Into... Well, what was it? It was boop, 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 Spanish. There. That was the setup, right? Yeah. Boop, boop, boop. Have I ever shown you how you can just... I'm sure, maybe you've seen this. Have you seen the crazy damage Gogeta can do? Like round start. Z assist. Have you ever seen the damage Gogeta can do? Which Gogeta? Blue. He does too much damage. Wait, Rising Vortex? Oh, oops. Blue. Cause yeah, like... Just... Especially just with even one assist behind him. Boom. Like... Turn the corner. And hell, round start? Oop. Oop. And boom. Look at that. Round start caught. Anyways, fuck off everybody.